Guyana's opposition leader rejects two of the president's suggestions for elections boss, and in sport, Barbadian Jofra Archer awarded a central contract by the England and Wales Cricket Board. I'm Ricardo Roberts, and this is Caribbean in 10 for Thursday, July 18. I'll be back with the details after the break.
Vice President Joe Biden is the front-runner by a very wide margin in the way too early race for the 2020 Democrat Party nomination for president. Now, I have legitimate concerns about a potential President Biden because of where he wants to put his hands. And no, I'm not referring to that issue. I'm talking about his desire to put his hands, or the hands of our government, deeply into our pockets. Joe Biden is determined that the flood of illegal immigrants violating our border.
When IndyCar hauled to Motown, Honda hoping to keep the good times rolling. Honda's IndyCar stars had swept the previous two Motor City doubleheaders. Graham Rahal doubling in 2017. Ryan Hunter-Reay and Scott Dixon splitting the wins a year ago. This year, Mother Nature controlled Saturday. Severe weather delaying the start nearly 2 hours, causing the event to be shortened. Still wet when the green finally came out.
Guyana's opposition leader Barack Jagdeo has rejected the names of two people President David Granger suggested could be included in the list of nominees for the position of Elections Commission chairman. Granger had put forward retired Judge Claudette LeBennett and attorney Cassandra Alves, but Jagdeo said no to them. Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, Joseph Harmon, said that having turned down the presidential suggestions, the opposition has put forward 4 additional names for consideration. He was speaking after another meeting between delegations from the opposition and government side yesterday.
At the meeting, the leader of the opposition team presented 4 additional names to be considered and indicated to us that the 2 names that were submitted by the president did not find favor with the leader of the opposition. We agreed that the list of names that had now been submitted, the further list, will be considered by His Excellency the President, and any further directions on the matter will be given by His Excellency the President.
Harmon said it is possible the president could also submit more names as well. Trinidad and Tobago's top cop is accusing politicians of worsening the crime situation by funding criminals. Now, Police Commissioner Gary Griffith says the last 4 governments have awarded state contracts to known gang leaders, a practice he says has fueled gang wars and contributed to an upsurge in homicides over the last 15 years. More in this TTT News report.
Referring to a shootout on Sunday evening in Manguali, Laventille, the police commissioner hinted at the root cause of the crime problem in the country.
So we had a shootout where several persons, inclusive of innocent women and children, could have been killed because gangs are fighting over a box train contract. That is what we have reached to in this society.
He stated that this practice has been happening for years through HDC, URP, and other programs.
It is difficult for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to go out there and do our job when it is the state is funding gang members.
The commissioner hopes the residents in the communities open their eyes and see that they are being used by the gang leaders. He said these people are not community leaders, but urged residents to call them as they are, gang leaders. He believes instead of funding their criminal activities, we should follow what the U.S. does.
In the United States, there are over 300 persons of interest that may be deemed as terrorists, but the United States will not give them a contract to pay in the White House. It is common sense.
He called them parasites and said their activities must not be encouraged.
That report from TTT's Ian Wason. The number of people living in poverty in Jamaica declined almost 20% in 2016. That's according to the latest Jamaica survey of living conditions tabled in the House of Representatives this week. It shows the prevalence of poverty was recorded at 17.1%, down from 21.2% in 2015.
It pointed out that a number of positive indicators in the economy helped to account for the decline, chiefly economic growth of 1.4% between 2015 and 2016, which saw just under 39,000 more people finding work. It also showed that people were spending more as well. The data show that average consumption went up by almost 5%, driven largely by those who live in rural areas. That increase was due mainly to an increase in agricultural production in 2016, which earned more money for rural households. And as poverty fell, inequality, that is a gap between the lowest and highest earnings, fell to the lowest it has been since 1991. Still, as outlined in the Survey of Living Conditions, the average consumption of the wealthiest 20% of the population was 6 times that of the poorest 20%.
And that report from TVJ's Ocean Masters brings us up to this midday news break. Stay with us. Sport is next. England's World Cup hero Barbadian Jofra Archer has been awarded a central contract by the England and Wales Cricket Board. The 24-year-old fast bowler will be on an increment contract for the next 12 months as he attempts to clinch a regular place in the England squad across all formats. Increment contracts are awarded to players who have impressed in the white ball format but are yet to assert themselves in any of the other formats. Archer has played a single T20 international and 14 one-day internationals, with the bulk of the latter coming during the just concluded ICC Cricket World Cup. But on Wednesday, he was left out of the 13-man England Test squad to face Ireland starting in a week's time because of a left side strain. Archer was not considered for selection along with fellow speedster Mark Wood, who has been called or had been ruled out for up to a month and a half with an identical injury. The England and Wales Cricket Board said Archer would take a break in his native Barbados before returning to the UK later this month, where he is expected to be a strong contender for the Ashes series. And Guyana captured 8 medals at the just concluded Junior Championship or Caribbean Squash Championship in Trinidad and Tobago. HGP's Stanford Howard reports.
Continues to showcase their dominance in the sport of squash over in the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. After taking the under-15 title in both categories, the Guyanese did a repeat in the under-17 as well. In the under-17 boys category, 15-year-old Shamari Welcher, who captured the under-15 squash title in Jamaica last year, proved why he's the best at what he does, besides his quiet demeanor, when compared to when he wields his racket, where his shy, unassuming conduct changes. Throughout the 3 days of competition in his quarterfinal match, he went up against Jamaican Sebastian Levon and made light work of him, showing his dominance in an 11-4, 11-2, and 11-4.
That's Caribbean in 10. Join us again at 6:30 for Caribbean Newsline. Good afternoon.